folks. Welcome to Walking on the Weene Side, part of It Matters Radio. And today we have with us one of our all-time favorite guests, actor and musician, Mike Shiflett. Mike, what have you been up to lately?
Oh, well, bless your heart. It's a Southern thing. I have to say that.
Okay.
I have been acting and singing with my band. I live in Virginia, but I just got back from Los Angeles where I did a film. And, it's went really well. It's called The Hour After Westerly. We shot it in Whittier. And it's a light drama. Let me name drop. Peter Jacobson from House, the TV show House. He was one of the guys. He's in it. It's he and I mostly. And Holly Hawkins, she's in a new film called Vice. Was there. Great.
Well, I saw Vice already, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Great man. He knocks it out the park. I think he'll win. I really do.
Yeah.
Amazing
performance, yeah. But anyway, okay, so what is the film that you did about?
This is about the whole theme or thesis is, what if I would have taken this path and not the path I'm on? What would have, everybody can relate to that. If I'd have made X amount of choice instead of the choice I'm on, where would I be? Who would I know? What would I be doing? This gentleman, who's played by Peter Jacobson, literally experiences that driving home from his sales job. He does road sales. I played Bob. I own this huge hardware store, and I befriend him, and we talk all about it. And on the way home, he enters a fictional town called Westerly and finds all new friends, a new woman in his life. They all know him. It's almost like a stream of consciousness, or another reality. So,
I think is there a hardware store in the new town?
Oh yeah.
And are you at that hardware store too?
I'm in that, but I also knew who he is from the former past.
So you are the bridging character.
Exactly.
To realities. Yeah. Very cool. And you're not allowed to let on to him, are you?
Right. Yeah, I leave it up to him.
Yeah.
I don't, and he knows where he's from and what he's experiencing. He knows both sides of the coin. So he's tripping.
So he does know that he's in a different reality. Okay.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. I see. So, but everybody.
That's how we got there.
But everybody else in the town doesn't know. The people around you in this town don't know.
Exactly. Yeah.
That sounds like it's very interesting because it's a new idea and an old idea at the same time. The old idea, of course, your character would be an angel. Not a hardware.
Exactly. Yeah. It's a wonderful life.
Right, exactly. I was just thinking of Jimmy Stewart as one example of it. Yeah.
That came up a couple of times there when we were in Whittier.
Yeah, I'm sure. Now, how did they pick Whittier? Immediately I hear Whittier. I've been there. It's a nice town. But, the first thing that comes to my mind whenever I hear Whittier is Richard Nixon. So
you're Belinda. Yeah. Oh, yeah. The Old Town Whittier has a real period feel to it. And what's cool, the streets at night, everybody walks by the merchants on the streets at night. The doors of the stores are wide open. They have very, very low crime. And it's just a real sense of old nostalgic America. It really is. It was really amazing. The old movie theater, the old drugstore, but everybody's got their doors open at night, and everybody's walking by, and it's just a sense of like it used to be.
Wow!
And I think that's what they wanted to capture.
I think
that's what we fell into Whittier. Yeah.
So now, what time frame is this put in? Is it a set modern day or go back?
It's late 70s, early 80s.
Okay.
That kind of concept. Yeah, it's not completely 2019 yet.
Now, I don't want to ask about the epiphany of the character and what's discovered by the film, because that would ruin the film. But I was wondering, is there a political subtext because both the films that you've been in that I've seen, that known films, are very much political films, and then also you've been very active in supporting film in the Richmond area about the black experience. Of course, the two big name ones being Loving and Lincoln, folks, for those of you who haven't followed Mike with us on It Matters Radio. So does this have a political subject?
I don't really detect a strong political slant. It's more the connectivity to another reality. I don't really detect politics myself,
Okay.
to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's an interesting concept, interesting thought. But I didn't detect that. Yeah.
Well, in the very sense of providing us with with the idea that we could have alternative realities, of course, that takes us into the magical realism kind of movement and a whole more poetic sense of seeing the world. And you're very much you're big on that kind of reading. I know you've been doing something with Netflix about reading, haven't you, Mike?
Yeah, Netflix. I was just up in Northern Virginia by DC, just southwest of DC, they're doing on video, visually and audio, for audiobooks for Netflix. Joel Clark is co-producing and directing. He's got quite a little resume there, and we had a blast. It involves a lot of antics and a lot of improvisation, which I love, because we're reading like chapter 1. We did everything from heavy stuff, the New York bestseller list, to Dr. Seuss for the kids. Chapter 1, and I get to cut up a lot. And they took it to Netflix, and they loved it. It worked. So Netflix, as you know, is expanding and growing and looking at all kind of opportunities. So
amazing. And doing, I have to add, just doing some wonderful artistic work. I don't know if you've seen Roma, but I did.
Read about it. I haven't seen it.
Oh man, it isn't the story. I mean, it's not a story driven. It's a character driven, and the photography and editing are just incredibly beautiful and compelling. And it's like a artwork, and it's as if Netflix is saying, okay, we're now going to start sponsor high quality art. The way the ancient courts and governments and other countries have done. We're almost like they're replacing the government funding for the arts with this incredible quality. And now you're telling me they're supporting reading, they're supporting books, they're encouraging books. And I just think, isn't that wonderful?
I think so, yes. I love it.
Yeah.
I love the expansion over what is just, what's the word, typical writing and scripting and dialogue. And, I like the concept of this movie because it's a bit surreal, Somebody even mentioned Twilight Zone. He goes in the Twilight Zone.
So, and now you're also doing some music, I take it.
Yeah, I've been in music forever. I have a band around Virginia called the Killer Bees. We're on Facebook if you want to see. I drum and I sing. We're busy. We're I hate to say it, but it's what they call big fish in a little pond. After living in LA forever, believe me, it's a little pond.
Now you're in Richmond, so.
I'm in Richmond, Virginia right now.
Which is not exactly my notion of a little pond. I mean, for LA, yes, but
it's capital of Virginia. It's a big city, but compared to LA, But yeah, it's home. I was raised here, so it's good to be home, and I have a house here and all that. So it's good.
Also, Richmond's got a very vibrant culture.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Lots of music being played, a lot of restaurants. If you're into the Civil War, this is a place to come to. A lot of history there. Well, Richmond was the capital of the Confederacy. So
yes, it was.
Back in the day.
Yeah, it was interesting. They chose to have it right down the road from Washington. It wasn't.
Yeah, they did. They
Yeah,
chose
very
it.
much like the old days when the kings would go out with the army and the kings would be back here in their tents, and the soldiers would be up here fighting. Very, very much like that. And of course, we all know that that war, which was anything but civil,
Right.
is still going on.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. There are sections and some sanctions and people with strong opinions in the Old South, but the majority of the people here want nothing to do with any kind of division. They really don't.
No.
It's come a long ways. It really has.
Why?
Because the energy here, of course, was the Confederacy,
Mhm.
and that's tied to slavery, and that's tied to a lot of broken hearts. So.
Yeah, especially Virginia has, of course, been a state very much changing. It has gone from being a deep red to a strong purple, and now in the last few elections, quite strikingly blue. And
Right.
now, of course, I don't want to ask you, I know you're a musician and an actor and not a political commentator.
Woo,
So
God
I'm not
help me,
gonna-
a musician and an actor.
But I'm not going to ask you to make commentary or tell the right or wrong of it. I'm just going to ask, how are the people of Virginia feeling about what strange stuff is going on at the state level right now?
Yeah. This is I've only discussed it with a couple of people, and they're not into politics, mostly musicians. But the consensus I'm getting is this: everybody I'm aware of has some discrepancy in their past. Everybody. And this gentleman, I believe I haven't followed it fully, but he may have denied his presence. But that was 20, 30 years ago. A lot of things have grown and matured and evolved since then.
Yeah, I give him and the Attorney General, some leeway for evolving. I do think the two things that are strange. Well, one thing that's very strange here is that he claimed, and still I believe claims, that the photograph was not of him.
That's what concerns me. I mean, if you did this, step up and say yes.
But you see, he did then. He said, but that photograph isn't me, but yes, I did do it once. So it isn't that he's saying I never did this. He's just saying, I don't know where that photo came from, which makes the whole thing very strange.
Yeah, he's playing both sides of the fence.
Well, or is it not his photo? And did somebody try and create this? And that's what becomes a little bit more like the kind of thing I might write about as a novelist.
There you go.
Well, I've got to create the scandal to bring this guy down, only to have it turn out that I get caught creating the scandal, but at the same time, it brings up a real scandal. That's the thing that blew my mind. And the other
there's a big movement here to get him out. Yeah. It really is.
And then there's the lieutenant governor, where it's a charge of sexual assault. Now, see, I'm willing to accept evolving. I'm not willing to accept criminality and evolving from that. So if in fact he coerced sex from a woman, that's just wrong. Wrong. I don't care. Statute of limitations in my head about that.
It's still wrong. Yeah. Statutes of no statutes. And without mentioning any names, we all know of former and present political figures who have created everything from abuse to murder. Yeah. Strong word, but it's true.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if
that was often swept under the rug. So
I don't know if you read any of my books, but one of them, Times to Try the Soul of Man, is set in New York City, and it involves a murder, and it involves major criminality for financial gain, and 90% of the book is fact. In fact, there are things I left out that made it even worse, but I didn't know at the time. For example, how one of the characters is rewarded for their nefarious behavior. So and that's what I learned. Through my contacts in the journalism profession. And I think there's something. That's something we as a country, we as a people have to be very careful of. We have to keep good people in office, and I don't expect people without any sin. I'm not perfect.
I have a statement that has followed me for decades. I heard it decades ago, and I've always put it out there. And if I ever stand up in front of an audience and receive any kind of acting award, I'd like to make this statement, Kenneth. I'd like to simply say, nothing changes until hearts change. Nothing changes until hearts change.
I think that's a beautiful
Let them just
sentence.
go out there, let them interpret it whatever they want, but that's my statement.
Powerful.
Until learn to care for each other, it's going to be a pretty dismal place. A whole lot of corruption, a whole lot of greed,
Well, you, I know, I've known you a while now, but also from your professional work, I know it as well as personal level. You are a person who cares, and you care deeply about your fellow human beings.
I really do, man. It's not BS. It's, of course I've made mistakes. Of course I've done stupid stuff as a kid, but I've learned a few things.
And it strikes me you're in Richmond, and
Yes.
Richmond is in a way, to me, it's a very exciting place. You referred to it earlier as a small pond. To me, it always struck me as a very exciting place because I think Richmond is a place where change happens.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I think people's hearts do change. They do get informed there. And of course, not that long back, there was a terrible, terrible incident in Richmond where a young man went into a church.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm wondering, now, in a place like Richmond, have you found that incident continues to reverberate and to change the community?
I've heard it brought up on numerous occasions when people want to make a stance or project their political fever. But overall, it's there's a lot of forgiving hearts here. There's always a struggle. There's always a struggle. We have, like every major city or mid-sized city, crime and issues and division financially. So that lends itself to a lot of frustration sometimes.
Yeah.
People not being as kind as they should be.
Yeah, I live now in Tucson. I've moved to Tucson, and of course, we had a similar incident here. I was not living here then, but the shooting of Gabby Gifford, and her that are gathered around her, a terrible, terrible thing, and all the worse in my mind because I honestly believe that had she not been injured, that she would very likely have been the first woman president of the United States. A truly outstanding politician, beloved on all sides. I mean, she truly bridged between the parties, not only here, but in Washington. Really outstanding, and married to a hero, an astronaut. I mean, and I have noticed that people bring that up, but never to support their political position, or to say, you should vote for me or something, but rather to say, let's remember that there is a better way to have discourse.
Yeah. Oh, please. We've got all the schools and those issues. We've got Las Vegas shooting.
Oh, God, yeah.
Where do we, how do we confront this and possibly make a change? And again, I reiterate, but it always comes back to me, nothing changes until hearts change. How do you change a man's heart? How do you do that?
Well, that's an interesting statement from you, because the films that I am familiar with that you've been in and the music that I have heard that you have created are really zero in on that.
Thank you. I hope to. I hope to make a difference. Wouldn't that be wild? The power of art.
The power of art. Maybe the last salvation.
You got that right, my brother. And well, don't get me started on music, but woo.
But I want you to talk about music.
This is my opinion. There is an ocean of mediocrity out there. It's ocean.
Musical mediocrity.
And I sound like some old guy going, "Oh, where's Stevie Wonder? Where's Steely Dan? Where's Chicago?" Long before that, they were outstanding big bands and great singers. But it seems like there's such a decline. The bar is so low now. Well, if you don't dance and spin and have girls doing all that, it ain't going to work. It doesn't fly. But hum me right now, one tune on the top 10 of Billboard. Hum it.
Me? I can't hum anything, but no, yeah, I get what you're talking about.
Then it's completely disposable.
Yeah.
No one will hum these things in a year or 5 years. There's nothing, but that's my little soapbox for today.
Well, I think there are two things. One is there anybody writing recognizable music that stands out from the pack? And the other is there any performers out there who present the music with such a unique and powerful way that we want to hear more, and we want to hear more. And it's funny because I have started of late going to opera. I was never particularly a big opera fan. I would go occasionally, but lately I've been going more, and we happened to have a woman opera singer here in town the other day, and we went to hear her recital, and she was singing all in Spanish, so I couldn't really. I didn't understand the words, right? I was just appreciating the voice. But I was watching the audience respond, most of whom, being here in Tucson, a good number of whom spoke fluent Spanish. And, you could see that the music, they were becoming one with the music. They were responding emotionally to the words and the presentation and something. And I was thinking to myself, when was the last time, Ken, you heard somebody perform where you felt that intricate intertwining with their words and their music sound?
Kind of the depth that is possible. Yeah, I think we both have experienced that in our lifetime, so we see the difference.
Yeah.
Often, and I'm not picking on the young, the youth, but they haven't experienced anything like that.
Yeah, that's true. They haven't experienced it yet.
Acceptance level is wide open, and the bar is so low.
Yeah. And of course, everybody can. Anybody can self-record.
Right.
Put themselves up on
auto-tune, make your voice perfect, and you hear them live, and they're idiots.
yeah, that's another thing.
If they didn't have the dancers spinning around and jumping up and down, musically, it's just a different world today. Songwriting is an entirely different world. Songwriting today is a part-time gig.
Hey, folks, you're listening to two curmudgeons here, Mike Shiflett and Ken Weene.
Oh yeah. There you go. I love it. Go Kenny!
Well, Mike, you're performing mostly in the Richmond area in terms of your music.
Yes, I am.
Yeah.
Yes, I am.
But where can people find it if they want to listen to it and scoff at you?
The Killer Bees on Facebook. Killer Bees, B''S, not B-E-E. The Killer Bees, RVA, Richmond, Virginia.
Okay.
Facebook, you'll see some things, some videos and stuff of the band. I'm on SoundCloud. If you want to see original stuff, we do a couple of my originals in the band, but mostly just cover tunes from the 60s and 70s because that's what fills the clubs.
Yeah.
People show up, and that's why we're working so much.
Yeah, as long as you give people what they want, but it isn't always what you feel is the best. So you have to work a couple of your new tunes in, right?
Right. You got it.
Yeah.
You've been there, I can tell.
But now let me ask this on Facebook because I think Facebook's great. Do you do any live performing on Facebook?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a live video. I mean, it's.
Yeah, you do those live video performances.
Yeah, we have a gal named PJ, and she does a lot of videos and songs, photo shots, everything like that. So,
yeah. Because that seems to be a new way to build audience.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, social media. I'm the drummer singer, so you'll see me in the back.
Yes.
Behind the cymbals. There I am. Yeah. It's fun.
So
still love it.
Okay. Now, I want to make sure we get back to that movie before we end. The movie you just shot in Whittier, California. Is it going to be available in theaters, or is it going to be on Prime, or how's it going to be distributed?
Hopefully theaters. I don't have that answer yet. It's in post, and they're adding music, and they're doing all the coloration and everything to it now. So as soon as I know something, I'll let you know.
And the name of it again, so people can watch?
The Hour After Westerly. Yeah. It's a mouthful, but interesting concept.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's good. I like it. I like the title. It's a very, very poetic title.
And Peter Jacobson from House, the TV show House, nails it. He does it really well.
Great.
We had a blast doing it. He's a great guy. Great.
Well, I have a feeling that you're fun to be with on the set.
Yeah, it can be fun.
I got to tell you, here's the thing is, I want you to find somebody shooting a film out here in Tucson, come out, so
come on, I'll be there.
Okay, you and I can have some fun. But in the meantime, folks, seriously, if anybody does know somebody who's making movies, Mike Shiflett, he's the kind of character actor that movie directors, producers need to know about. So I've mentioned him to a couple people. I got a friend who's got a movie company out in North Carolina. I've talked about you to him. I mentioned earlier, a friend of mine who's into the film business. I've mentioned you. So, and folks, that's part of what all this is about. If you believe in somebody, if you believe in what they're doing and who they are, we support one another.
Yeah.
And that's what.
Hey, guys in Radio Land, Kenneth has a giant heart. He's actually a big marshmallow. So don't let him fool you.
A curmudgeonly marshmallow. How's that?
Curmudgeonly marshmallow. All right, that works.
So, folks, once again, I've had the great pleasure of having It Matters Radio's wonderful friend, Mike Shiflett, join me.
Thank you. Thank you for asking me. Anytime, buddy.
Sounds good to me. Be well, my friend.
You too. Take care. Bye-bye.